From the sewers of Gotham, a new villain emerges.
You didn't invite me, so I crashed!
From the rooftops of Gotham, the perfect enemy comes to life.
I am Catwoman. Hear me roar. Meow.
And the only one who can save this city is a creature of the night.
Hey, stud. I thought we had something together.
We do. While she craves a romance she can sink her claws into,
You're catnip to a girl like me.
he plots a foul reign of destruction.
My dear penguins, thanks to Batman, the time has come to punish all of Gotham!
You missed. Above Gotham looms its greatest hero.
Yo, 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 yo. Rob Lee here with a brand new episode of Let's Watch It Again, our movie review podcast. And today we're doing Batman Returns from 1992. And I said we because I have a guest. I have the girl face. I have Kumari here. Cool. Welcome to the pod again.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me back.
Yes, you're Snoopy to my Snoopy's doghouse. No? Does that work?
We'll workshop it a little. Just a little.
Yeah, I think we got to workshop.
Yeah,
I'm not Woodstock. I'm too big to be Woodstock.
Yeah, Woodstock's not the right personality. We got to think about this a little bit more.
Pigpen? I'm just Dusty.
Did we ever really see Pigpen and Snoopy hang out together?
We did.
Yeah.
You know what? You're right. Charlie Brown, because I'm bald. Boom, done.
Okay, good. I like it.
Just watch. I'm gonna get a yellow shirt. It's gonna have triangles on it. I can't do the whole thing because it's just like you're just stealing Charlie Brown. But I'm just gonna have the yellow shirt with the triangles on it, not waves. Even though they look a little Aquarius. They kind
of do.
See?
They kind of do have that water bearer look, and you definitely have some of Charlie Brown's like philosophical musings. I've been just really thinking about the state of the world and where you fit into it. So there's some parallels there. There's some parallels.
I could just see you dancing like Snoopy. I'm done.
Oh well, Snoopy and I have a lot in common. We have typewriters. So
poofy coats.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So what we're here to talk about today is we might even do a Charlie Brown, that remake joint that came out a couple years back.
Sure.
Might be worth doing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you a synopsis of Batman Returns and, keep me honest here as I go through this because sometimes the synopsises are a little short, as it were.
Short rather than cis. Right. Yeah.
It's like, it's not, that's cis. It's a gendered synopsis, instead of, because it's cis.
Wow.
CIS. No. Anyway, so synopsis. In the sewers of Gotham City.
Oh boy.
To the rooftops of the of the Gotham City. The Penguin, played by Danny DeVito, wants to know from which he came. Catwoman, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, plans to kill rich man, the rich man of Gotham. Who wrote this? This is written terribly. The plans to kill the rich man of Gotham, Max Schreck, played by Christopher Walken. But as she battles with millionaire Bruce Wayne, Michael Keaton, for both ladies, and this is written terribly. Hold on, I'm gonna get a different synopsis. I don't like the synopsis. This is a bad synopsis.
This is live. You're like, you know what? This isn't good. This isn't good. Switch it out.
Yeah, someone wrote this terribly. It's like I read it and it made sense. I may have been high. It wasn't good.
You could have written a better one. Mm-hmm.
Here's a better one.
Okay.
Synopsis. While the Batman deals with the former man calling himself the Penguin, wreaking havoc across Gotham with the help of a cruel businessman, a female employee of the latter becomes the Catwoman with her own vendetta. Batman.
All right.
That's actually concise.
It pretty much gets to the point. And it highlights something that I don't know if people really thought about too much at the time when this movie came out, which is that, like, this isn't a Batman movie. We don't even know if the original Batman, the first in this series, was a Batman movie, but this one kind of isn't. No,
we'll talk about that. It is definitely, it doesn't feel like a Batman movie to me. It feels like this is kind of one of those early, you know how in Spider-Man 3, when they tried to bring in the extra villains and all of that, this was the precursor to that the movie is not about the main person,
right?
Or the person that is named after, the character is named after.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this actually succeeds in it. And, is this, this is probably one of the questions a little bit later, but is this better than the Batman? Like not the Batman, but the first Batman of this Tim Burton series. We'll, just chew on that for a little bit.
Okay.
So here's what we got. I want to talk about the numbers, right? So, as you know, data analysis is, right? So IMDb gave this a 7.1 out of 10. Metacritic is 68 out of 10. Sorry, 68 out of 100. And Rotten Tomatoes an 81 out of 100. This was released in June 19th, 1992. So this was a summer movie, but also a Christmas movie. Directed by Tim Burton, had a budget of $80 million. It's a very interesting budget during that time.
Yeah, that's
probably like
pretty expensive. That's pretty expensive.
And it made $267 million. So it's probably like a half a $1 billion movie, and I don't know that movie would get the same juice. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think we're going to do a sequel to this. It was a box office failure using today's standards.
That's true.
In comparison, because I want to talk about like how the budget for this one compared to that initial one.
Mm-hmm.
So, because a lot of that money went to one Jack Nicholson. Just let me get that bread. Let me get that bread from y'all. Yeah. So let's see. Batman. Budget, because I just for posterity's sake. So the original movie, so the 89 was a $48 million budget.
Wow. Okay.
So it's like, how did it go up so much higher? Because we know how much. We'll talk about this a little later. How much Michelle Pfeiffer made. And so it's like, did y'all? How much? Because I know they gave Michael Keaton a pay increase or what have you, but most of that money in that first one went to Jack Nicholson and probably Prince, for being honest.
Michael Jackson, just Jack Nicholson and Prince just making off like bandits. They just probably went on a vacation together to the Riviera with all their money. They were just like, man, we built those idiots.
I feel like Prince Scrooge McDuck into like a gold and purple pool.
Diamonds and pearls. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. And a bunch of them went to the art budget that the Joker destroyed. Anyway, so the cast in this movie includes Michael Keaton, Danny DeVito, Michelle Pfeiffer, Christopher Walken, Michael Gough, Pat Hingle, and Michael Murphy. So I want to ask you, so as the Batman expert here,
Oh boy.
I know you're going to shy away from that, but you're a Batman expert. You're a Batman expert, in my opinion. In my opinion, matters more than anyone else's, so they can all kick rocks. Where, like, and we were just going to go right into it. Where does this kind of like when you think back at it, like, how did you feel? What was your excitement level? Like, where were you at when you're like, oh, they're doing a Batman 2? They're doing a Batman Returns? Like, where were you at, and what was your feelings when you knew that this movie was going to come out?
I was really excited about it. I was probably the most excited about seeing Catwoman because Catwoman is just one of those characters that you want to see on the big screen. It made sense for the first big budget live action Batman movie in that era to have the Joker as the first villain. So that made sense. So I was super excited about it. And I was definitely excited to see Catwoman. I think I was surprised that the Penguin was going to be the other villain. That surprised me. I don't know what I was expecting, probably the Riddler. I mean, but I guess that would have been, just kind of my own opinion about like in the pantheon of villains, who would they go for next? The Penguin is kind of a weird villain and needs a certain touch, but I think the Tim Burton element made sense in that way, that would be something, a character that he would be interested in. So it's almost like, one for me and one for them. You guys want Catwoman, we'll do that. The Penguin's kind of more my speed, so we're going to do that too.
So I think I agree with you. Let's see, when this movie came out, I was a child, I was 7 or something, and I don't remember this movie as well. This is my Batman movie though. Like when I think of like, what was my Batman movie, it's going to be this one more than the 89 one, because the 89 one felt a little darker. This felt dark in a different way, and it had the video game tie-in, so it felt like it was like, oh no, this is something I'm going to have fun with. I feel like I played the Batman game a lot with the Dark Carnival and all of that stuff. And in addition to that, RIP to Kevin Conroy, but the Batman the Animated Series came out a few months after this. Batman Animated Series came out in September of 1992.
Okay.
And this was in July of 1992. So June. So definitely there was some steam. There was the summer of bats. Right.
Like Batman just taking the world by storm once again.
Yeah. And, prior to that, we had like, we had Keaton as Batman in 89, but you had like Adam West. I just remember watching a lot of reruns of like Adam West. So, and having this, and, as I think I told you maybe before, a lot of times I would get the sequel. I'd watch the sequel before I watched the original movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So like when it was accessible. So like, this is me and Ghostbusters. I've seen 2 before I've seen 1.
Before you saw 1. Right.
So that's my movie. That's the first time I saw it. That's the first, that's how it romanticized and how it imprints on me.
Interesting. Well, then you were pretty much indoctrinated into a multi-villain world, and where Batman is almost an afterthought in comparison with how much screen time, because, Max Schreck, which I'm sure we're going to talk about him, is not even, he's not one of the headliner villains. He's not like, a villain that somebody's like, oh, look, pointy ears, I know who that is. Or look at that nose and the umbrella, I'm ready for it. It's like, oh, wow, he is a Tim Burton character. And
he absolutely is.
So it's, so really, talk about a movie being crowded with villains. There are like the 3 of them up there. And then Batman just like, hey, just let me know when you guys need me.
It's essentially, he was like, yeah, 2 for me, 1 for y'all. I need Shrek in this now. And I almost rather have Shrek. I almost rather have Mike Myers in green face paint, going back in time. It's like, yeah, I'm the villain running Gotham. I'd rather have that.
Wow.
I almost rather, it's Shrek. Shit. So I want to throw some trivia out there to you, because you know how much I enjoy trivia.
Oh yeah.
And before we get to that trivia, does this pass the early on sniff test? And upon rewatching it, the sniff test that you and I both have of number of production companies, all of that good stuff. Does it pass that sniff test? Because sometimes when you watch movies, you're like, I forget there was a lot more production companies here when you rewatch them.
Oh man, crap. I really didn't look for that.
I think it's fine. I think it passed.
It doesn't pass. Okay. I really didn't look for that, but I will tell you, and we can talk about this more later. Off the top, I liked it a lot more in the present than I did previous times that I've watched it, and I felt like I got a lot more out of it, and maybe a lot of that has to do with just kind of like the kind of director that Tim Burton is, always kind of like a little bit ahead of you, and then you go back and you're like, there's a lot going on here. So, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So trivia. So at least 50% of Warner Brothers, their lot is made up of Gotham City sets.
So you mean of the physical lot?
Yes.
Shut up. Really?
So it's definitely like this thing in world building, right? It's like, no, we actually had sets. It's not goofy CGI. It's like, no, we built this out. Freaking Christopher Walken and his wig was on this podium.
So is that a thing? Do they have like tours? Can I go see that?
I think we can get one arranged.
Huh.
So they were all constructed to be mobile, and they were shifted between days of filming. Michelle Pfeiffer routinely got lost on her way to filming every day.
That's something that would happen to me. I'd be like, where is this? Can you guys put up some kind of signage or, yeah.
So there is a cameo early on in this movie, actually before the credits, which is one of the things. That might be one of our things, by the way. Pre-credit cameos or pre-credit things you should be keeping an eye on. So Burgess Meredith, who Rocky Connection plays Mick in Rocky, and he was the original Penguin in the 1966 series. He was going to play Penguin's father, but he couldn't play him because he was ill.
Oh,
he was sick. So who plays Penguin's father?
Penguin's father is played by Paul Rubens.
Yes. And he has his Pepe Le Pew mustache.
It's great. And part of me, when you say that question, makes me want to say John Waters, because that's who I think about when I look at him.
Oh, my God. Where's the John Waters biopic with Pee Wee Herman?
Oh, I'm so ready. It's
just him doing a Pee Wee Herman dance.
They're a match made in, I don't know if I want to say heaven, but somewhere in between. Middle Earth?
Yeah. Strip club?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Dive bar?
Danny DeVito would remain in character in between sets. And you'll love this next line. DeVito was advised by his friend Jack Nicholson, aware of his own financial success of Batman, to take on that role as Penguin. He's like, look, you can make some bread. You should do it. I'm telling you, you should do it, bro.
I think that there needs... I don't know if this exists, but this is like the 11th time that I've heard someone say something like Jack Nicholson's advice. I don't know much about him as a person for someone who's so famous and has been around for a long time, but he has like this really interesting altruistic streak of just giving warnings and advice, and he's forever telling somebody you know what you need to do. So I think that's so funny.
It sounds like me. You know what you need to do.
Go get that get that check. Go get that check.
It's almost an altruistic version of Steven from Django Unchained. They hit for that girl.
You didn't have to.
It's like I almost want to have a poof of hair right here in the front.
Listeners, you cannot see your host right now, but he did this ridiculous Elvis lip curl when he said that. And now he's putting a napkin on his head as if it's the patch of hair that Sam Jackson has.
It's really stupid.
Oh my God, that was great.
In an interview for television, Stan Winston told a little anecdote about how his crew were collecting mechanical penguins one day after a shoot. You're gonna love this. It's gonna hit the cockles of your heart, Koo. He found one of the live penguins snuggled up against one of the mechanical ones.
That is adorable. That is so adorable. That's so cute. Aww, my penguin friend.
Because I mean, they get dark later in the movie. It's like, all right, here's these rocket penguins.
Last 30 minutes, time to go off the rails.
It's Spielberg level ish.
Right.
So Danny Vito, whose makeup as Penguin took, how many hours do you think it took for him to get in Penguin mode, as it were?
So I'm picturing his face. We have a very, very dramatic nose, some really disturbing teeth interwoven with black tar gums and some sort of substance that looks like if you squeezed fish juice, that's what you'd get.
She only want me for my fish juice.
So that sounds like a line he may have said in the movie because, wow.
He was on one.
He was on one the entire time. So how many hours? Whew, man. 5?
So it took 3 hours.
Okay.
Because I mean, all of the padding was not padding. That was his body in the when he wore his long underwear that looked decrepit.
Okay. So you know how in the like mythology and lore of Michael Jackson's Thriller, they talk about how all the clothing that they used for the dancers, they left it outside and let it get rained on and like for real, and let like things crawl in there and stuff. And then they were like, here, wear this. So those long johns.
I think they're the same long johns he's wearing in there. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So
I mean, he might have had them since Taxi. Let's be honest.
Well, he was a hairdresser at one point, and he may have done his own wig. I read a story that was his first job before he got into acting.
The wig is great.
So it took 3 hours, and so he removed from his trailer. He removed one of the cabinets from the makeup trailer rather to put in a laser disc machine and television, so he could sit there and actually watch movies and look at the movies through the mirror.
So wait, laser disc?
Yes,
laser disc
and a television.
I don't know what to say about that. Wow.
I mean, 3 hours is a long time.
I'm all about watching movies. It's just like laser disc. It wasn't, I guess, I don't know. Maybe the same people who were just like, you guys chose wrong when you chose VHS over beta. They're probably the same people that have like,
shit.
You know what? I got Tootsie on Laserdisc if you want to watch it,
The director's cut. the deep Tootsie director's cut?
Yes, behind the scenes.
Yeah, so, here in King of New York, when he said I got birch beer, it actually was ginger ale.
Oh my God.
It's inside baseball for you.
The Lawrence Fishburne collection.
Abel Ferreira is like, this is bullshit. I never signed off on this. Michael Keaton was alleged to have earned $11 million for reprising his role as Batman. The Warner Brothers executives were very uneasy with this. He was like, we ain't paying this motherfucker anything. However, Tim Burton was like, nah, he deserves it. Y'all need to make it happen. This is my bat.
I like that. I like that he was, he wasn't trying to cast, Johnny Depp as Batman or whatever. So.
Oh my God, Johnny Depp as Batman.
Well,
Batman's like too hot then. 21 Bat Street.
Not 21 Bat Street. Oh my God.
Booker is Bullock. No, I don't know. I'm done.
Booker definitely would have been on like the Gotham police force. 100%.
Oh my God. I mean, if they kept going with that series, they would have dug up his body and said, look, he's not dead. We're going to figure this out. We're going to make this a thing.
Just dangly earrings and leather jackets with the collars turned up.
Oh my God. On Biography, Catwoman, Her Many Lives, from 2004, Michelle Pfeiffer said that her Catwoman costume was vacuum sealed once she was fitted into it for scenes. So she actually had a short amount of time to perform whatever she was doing in those scenes because she would get lightheaded and pass out. She also admitted that when she first was learning to use the whip, she accidentally cut her trainer's face with it.
That's not funny, but wow.
At which she acted like a complete gentleman. Oh, it's fine. Half his face is just falling off. It's just like, tis only a scratch. And it's like his jawline is now open.
I mean, that whip did look serious. It was, yeah. And there was a lot of whip action.
Better whip action, her Indiana Jones.
Oh man, come on.
I know they're different whips, and I know he used his more, but I think hers was more effective.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that.
We got a lot to talk about Michelle Pfeiffer's character. Several modifications. You're gonna love this. This is where it starts to get great.
Okay.
Several modifications were made to the bat suit, including the color scheme, the chest plate, and Michael Keaton had a personal request of having a zipper added to the pants. He's like, I got a bat piss, and I got to pull my bat joint, my bat wiener.
Well, let's face it. I mean, this is a reasonable thing. You know what I mean? Come on. Let's.
Remember when I think you listened to it when me and Dom did the RoboCop one, and freaking Peter Weller is dying in armor. It's like, I am sweating my life away. Can I pee? No. Pissing your suit.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
And his bat boots were made out of Jordan 6s, I believe. So
that's ridiculous.
Who knew it? You know, Michael Keaton was like a sneakerhead. He was like, yo, look, you know, my man Jordan was like, look, I need, you know, I got these for you, the Batman edition. Why haven't they come out? It's like, yo, we got like
the bat boots.
Yo, if they came out as like some dead stock retro Jordan refits, it's like, look, we got the bat 6s. I'm here for it.
Listen,
no, call them the Gotham 6s.
My God. You're going full Kendall Roy right now. Like, that's who I'm picturing would be like, yeah, I'm gonna need a pair of those sent to me.
I can see the colorway already. They're just the regular Jordan 6s. The logo, right? The Jordan Jumpman logo is the yellow of the emblem, right? And then the sole is gray. Boom, done. Okay, you're solving the world's problems. And Michael Keaton's face is the sole inside the shoe.
I don't think we should do that. I don't want to step on his face every time you know what I mean?
Okay, it should be on the tongue then. Is that better?
I guess.
So at around the 90-minute mark, Danny DeVito refused a stand-in for the scene where Penguin is pelted with rotten food by an angry mob. He's like, yeah, throw that shit at me. I don't give a shit.
What I want to know is, anywhere in your trivia, does it say whether or not it was scripted when he's like, why do people bring tomatoes and fruit to speeches? Remember when people start pelting him, he turns and he's like, why do people bring tomatoes and fruit to speeches? And I'm just like, every human that's ever seen this has thought that. Great line.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's a great line.
He remains obviously in character between takes or what have you, which this is how it's done. Jared Leto, don't be an asshole. I'm just saying. This is the first film. This is interesting. It shows you how old this movie is. It's 30 years old. This is the first film made in Dolby Digital.
Oh wow!
Then known as Dolby SRD.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Annette Bening was originally casted as Catwoman. I know you knew.
Feel like I remember that. That was kind of like a Premiere Magazine type thing, you know, of like, yeah, I could see that.
So she became pregnant. Michelle's salary was $3 million, which was $2 million more than what they offered Bening.
Interesting.
She's like, if you want me, this is what I need.
Well, Michelle Pfeiffer was definitely, and I don't want to say was like, ooh, what it has been, but like, you know, she definitely was like a different tier of actress, which she was commanding.
This movie, in its first 3 days, and it was a record at the time, made $47.7 million in its first 3 days.
Wow.
This movie was presented as, and I think this is why it worked so well. Kind of going to what I was talking about earlier, like how this worked as my like first Batman movie. This was pitched as a standalone. It had no connections to the first one. So neither Tim Burton nor Michael Keaton had been signed up in advance for a sequel. Burton came on board after the script met all of his demands. He had not been entirely happy about the 89's movie's screenplay.
He didn't like it.
While Keaton only agreed to do the second film after a serious salary hike and Burton's assurance that it would mostly be a standalone movie without being like a direct sequel.
Yes, he did not like it. He thought that it was boring and kind of like, what's the point of doing this? What's the point of it being a comic book if this is what you were going to do? If you're just going to make a drama, like where's the fantasy?
Right. Security was so tight. This is going to be great. Security was so tight on a production that even Kevin Costner was refused permission to visit the set. Warner Brothers employees employed a private investigation firm to take shots of Danny DeVito in costume, which made it to the tabloids.
Wow, Kevin Costner, huh?
He's like, get the fuck out of here. You can't. He's like, who are you again?
Is that like the second time that he's been dissed like that? Because remember in like the Madonna documentary when like he comes backstage and then he leaves and then she like puts her finger down her throat like, ugh, and then it's in the movie. It's like, wow, you have to do him like that.
And you know what's really funny about this as well? This is while he's filming The Bodyguard.
They're just like, we don't care. What if they had let?
He's like, I was Elliot Ness, motherfuckers.
What if they had like let Whitney Houston come by and not him? God, that would have been so funny.
We need a new Catwoman.
Well, I mean, I don't know what that list looked like. I knew about Annette Bening for some reason, but
I got a list for you.
Oh,
I got a list for you.
Okay, sounds good.
Michelle Pfeiffer went through how many Catwoman suits in this 6-month shoot, by the way? And you give me the number and I'll tell you how much each suit costs. Just give me a number anywhere that comes to mind for you.
So you're not saying test suits like RoboCop. You're saying how many of because once they sealed it on her, that's it. It's one-time use.
Yep,
it's
I think
like
so.
Literally a condom. Okay.
Wow.
So,
in 6 months, by the way.
She's in a lot of scenes and she moves a lot too. Okay, I'm going to say 5.
Michelle Pfeiffer went through 60 Catwoman suits
60?
during the 6-month shoot, and each cost $1,000.
So they spent $60,000 in latex.
Yes, latex and in staples.
Because go ahead. Okay, so they can't make those look identical, but then I guess it's fine. Not that people were necessarily checking for that. We didn't have the internet for people to go back and be like, but like, allegedly, kind of like in a Spider-Man and Peter Parker type way, she was sewing this herself. Yeah. So, it has like kind of that like iconic white stitching on it, but she would have been doing that herself. So, Selena Kyle. So they could look different. Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, I tore this yesterday robbing this bank and beating up this dude in an alley. So I need to fix this. Or later in the movie when she has like the damage to the mask and all of that, which looks really cool, by the way.
It's great. When her hair is coming out, it's great.
Yeah.
All good girls go to heaven.
Wow. At the hour and 6-minute point of the movie, during one scene, Michelle Pfeiffer puts a live bird in her mouth. You remember the scene?
I sure do.
They had bird puppets on set, but Pfeiffer thought it would look too fake, so she actually used a real bird.
Listen, Ozzy Osbourne, let's be careful about our winged accidents.
Stop.
And so you remember V, right? That show?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Do you remember what year it was? Like what year that show debuted?
I think it was in the 80s.
It had to be.
Like V, The Final Battle? That was 84.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it would have been before this, because that's like one of the major scenes that happens when like the friggin' main V chick like unhinges her jaw and like puts a bird in there, and everyone's like, "Oh my god!" Yeah.
Yeah, because the original miniseries was 83, so yeah, it's still a few years before, probably about 10 actually. I can't do the birds. And just imagine if they said, look, behind Hollywood, whatever, like behind the scenes Hollywood, we get the bird story, the bird side of the story.
Yeah, so when back in the day, they used to do anything on the set. They didn't have any protection for us. Yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer just put me in her whole mouth, just my whole body. Did y'all see that?
And when I was complaining about it, all they told me was birds of a feather flock together. And I was like, wow.
So when we went to the union, Good Feathers, the Good Feathers union rep.
I mean, it's Warner Brothers, so it all works, by the way.
It all works.
And then Tweety was talking to me. It's like, look, man, you got to calm down. Man. Sometimes it's just like that. I was like, sit your big ass head down. I don't care about that.
You signed the release, didn't you?
They gave you a release? It's like, yo. So the Batman costume weighed 55 pounds. It's still heavy as shit. He's like, look, it can't be heavy and not have a dick hole. I gotta pee. Basically. I gotta figure this out.
Yeah, basically.
It's like, can these shoes be more fashionable? Like, can I?
Yeah, the bad boot doesn't get a lot of, it doesn't get a lot of play. Like when we're looking, it's always the utility belt
or the gauntlets,
the breastplate. Yeah,
or the codpiece.
That too. Mm-hmm.
If you're Schumacher.
Oh boy, there's only one.
Or the bat nipples.
There can only be one Schumacher. There's only one.
I mean, it's bat nipples and cod pieces. A little bat cheek too.
The bat butt.
Bat booty, yeah. Butt man or whatever.
That's Gotham City's ass.
That's great. That's great. It's just him flying around, geeks out. It's like, yo. It's like, can you cover that with your cape, sir?
Prince is like, finally, everyone's doing it now.
Shit, starting this trend.
Right.
So around 28 minute, in 28 minute, to get Cats to surround Selena as she's knocked out, the filmmakers, this is great, but also funky. They put tuna inside of a dummy version of Selena and put tuna on Selena's suit. So it made the Cats like, hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on? Yeah. Just like licking on the suit. So that's a dummy of Selena Kyle, Michelle Pfeiffer, smothered in like tuna juice.
That sounds like a disturbing sorority hazing method, I have to say.
That is funny.
And this movie, there's
really
some really interesting takes on, like, I guess, I don't know, like transformation through animals. Yeah, and maybe that's just something, I guess, in a fairy tale way that Tim Burton was interested in.
Yeah, I think in the oral history, that's definitely a point that's brought up in it. And I want to talk about, and I got this a little bit later, but I want to talk about the poster a little bit. So definitely keep that in the back of your head. This was the first Batman adaptation in which the real names of Penguin and Catwoman are established in the comics.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, it's the first time these names are used. So Oswald Cobblepot and Selena Kyle.
Huh. Interesting.
Selena's a black name, by the way.
It is. I mean, Catwoman in my mind is a black woman. And that name definitely, lends itself to that. Exactly.
David Bowie had been previously considered to play the Joker in 1989. You're going to love this. You're going to love this part.
Okay.
He was the first choice to play Max Schreck before Christopher Walken was cast. Bowie turned the role down in favor for Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. In addition, the role of Max Zorin, A View to Kill from 1985, is also played by Christopher Walken, was initially offered to Bowie. So they're just taking each other's roles. I
mean, there is a similar... it's as similar as it's probably ever gotten on planet Earth, because one of the things that I think that Danny DeVito, as an actor, who's probably one of those people that he's never going to get everything that he deserves in terms of just being like having a very, very long career in which he consistently shows up and does what we want him to do. Right. But Danny DeVito, Christopher Walken, David Bowie, you can't just swap out actors like that. If you need Danny DeVito for something, you can't be like, oh, we'll just hire Robin Williams. You know what I mean? Like and Christopher Walken is a similar actor. And then, so David Bowie's probably the only person that you could think of that, is kind of like, I could see where you would slide him in there. But you can't just swap out those actors. No substitutions.
100%. I mean, I could see him in the 89 Batman as the Joker as well, David Bowie.
There's a version of the Joker that is that. Yeah.
Meryl Streep was briefly considered for the role of Catwoman, by the way. But Tim Burton rejected her because he felt that she was too old for the role. For context, she is 9 years older than Michelle Pfeiffer.
Do you think that... Okay, so if we're talking Michelle Pfeiffer, Meryl Streep. Do you think that comic book roles still have that appeal to quote unquote serious actors and actresses?
That's an interesting question. I think then it may have been pitched differently. We've been inundated with comic book movies the way that they've been for so many years that it has a certain different stank on it. It's more of a check than I'm going to have fun here. And then you have some instances like obviously like look at the No Way Home, right? You had actors that have some acclaim, coming back 20 years later, essentially with Willem Dafoe doing a movie that is just like, yeah, this is kind of beneath you a little bit now, isn't it? But he's like, I'm gonna make up for something I felt that was a little flat, and I'm gonna go off on it. And then you have the other side with Alfred Molina. It was like, I need this check, so whatever. And he gives it socks. He does very well in the movie. So I think that there is like a piece of it that's like, some people are going to do these prestige pieces, but I think you have either you're going to pop up in a comic book movie or you're going to pop up as some sort of like aging dude in a John Wick-esque movie. Like I'm looking at the DVD right now, like Brad Pitt and Bullet Train.
Okay.
At least that's my thinking.
I hadn't thought of that. I hadn't thought of Brad Pitt. Okay. Yeah.
But I will say one person that I just wouldn't see popping up in it because it still has that sort of comic book stank. I don't see DiCaprio doing one of these or Tom Cruise doing one of these. Specifically, Tom Cruise wouldn't. DiCaprio could be coaxed into it if, let's say, a director that he really jams with, let's say like Tarantino or Scorsese, who probably wouldn't do it after all of the talking he's done. If they said, look, I'm going to do a comic book movie, that's the only way I think you get him doing it.
Yes, and I know I'm not gonna attempt to make us go too far afield, but I guess
no, please.
There's also maybe a distinction between like comic book and like graphic novels, because it's like, would Leonardo DiCaprio be in Watchmen? Would he do that? Like
no, that's legit, yeah.
But I agree with you that it seems deliberate on his part that he's kind of stay away from that. But as you also pointed out, he's a director's actor. He likes to work for directors that he likes.
And in a sense of what we were talking about earlier with Jack Nicholson, like here's this advice. His advice has been to like the Timothy Chalamets of the world. Yeah, don't do action movies. Don't do like comic book movies. Stay away from that shit. So it's just like, but you're doing it now. Don't worry about me.
It was different then.
I'm the Wolf of Gotham. You're like, what?
You're like, those are two different movies.
Are they? It's like, shit. When did Danny Elfman get here? It's just like, shit.
Well, Michelle Pfeiffer is there, so.
Well, so okay. Now I'm going to give you a lot of casting stuff.
I'm ready.
So I'm going to preface this by, at the time of the filming of this movie, the Penguin's character is supposed to be 33 years old. Danny DeVito is 46 at that time.
Okay.
So just for context, there is no universe where that character is 33. It's like, you've been living underground and aging precipitously.
I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Yeah.
So here's the people, and I'm going to get, it's a laundry list. So Dustin Hoffman was originally the first choice to join the movie as Penguin, but he declined. Dudley Moore, Marlon Brando, John Candy, Bob Hoskins, Ralph Waite, Dean Martin, Alan Rickman, Phil Collins, Charles Grodin, Ben Kingsley, John Goodman, Christopher Lee, Joe Pesci, Ray Liotta, Gabriel Byrne, Alex Rocco, and Christopher Lloyd were all considered for the role before Danny DeVito got it. It is a vastly different movie if you see fucking like Alan Rickman. No, better yet, Phil Collins pop up.
Gabriel Byrne.
Right. Bob Hoskins. I mean, Joe Pesci and Ray Liotta both were in conversations.
Joe Pesci, I understand. I get where they're going with that.
And this is both coming off of Goodfellas, by the way. So just imagine.
I mean,
if he just plays it like his character from Goodfellas.
That's mind blowing. Then it really does turn into Good Feathers.
Oh my God, yes.
Oh my
yes.
God.
I want it.
Well, okay. So I guess all of this goes back to who do we think the Penguin is? And so, like, who is the Penguin as a character? And I think that's one of the reasons why I said, like, that I was really surprised to see them try to take that character on. Though I do, after watching it again after so long, feel like I kind of get it. To me, this movie is a spiritual cousin of the Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix, because there's a lot of this kind of like grotesque view of wealth. Like if you have the Cobblepots versus the Waynes, you know, the Cobblepots are like the worst idea of what it means to be a rich person. They're selfish, they're cruel, they discard their own son. You know, like their mansion is decadent and it's the opposite of the Waynes, this universe's version of what the Waynes believe that wealth is supposed to do. And so, you know, kind of like what are the responsibilities of the rich? So like, I think this version of Penguin is definitely supposed to be like, I don't know, almost a Game of Thrones kind of like, you know, because when he goes biblical Moses at the end, like I'm gonna kill all the first sons, you're just like, this turned into the Prince of Egypt somehow, you know, like I think kind of it's that merged with this very literal like penguin identity, which is only something that like Tim Burton would come up with. I would have never imagined in a million years, like, oh wow, you meant like a penguin. You know, like Penguin is called Penguin because, I mean, he has like the weird laugh, which who knows where that actually came from. But, you know, because he looks like the, you know, Joe Monocle or whatever that guy from Monopoly is. You know, when you wear a tuxedo.
Wow.
And you look like a penguin. Like, I always assumed that's where his name came from. Not that he was like actually like
a penguin,
a paranormal bird, you know, like.
So hold on. Just because you mentioned it, I got to tell you the guy's name for Monopoly.
What's his name?
Rich Uncle Moneybags.
Are you serious?
I am.
That's his name?
Yes.
Rich Uncle Moneybags. Wow, I had no idea.
No work was done there.
Just like
no, but they made him to a literal penguin, and that goes back to your point about the animal thing. Like he's literally an animal the way that he's being depicted. Like he eats like an animal, he reacts like an animal in some regards, and even the thing with Catwoman and her transformation and the whole literal 9 lives thing.
I love that, by the way. Like the idea that it's like, because it's almost an explanation for kind of like fairy tale logic, comic book nonsense of just like, how is this chick not dead? And it's like, no, I literally have like 9 lives. It's like, oh yeah, okay, sure.
And you know, this movie was considered to be too dark when it came out initially.
You mean dark in tone?
Yes.
It's very dark. I mean,
and that's one of the reasons I like it so much.
Yeah, it's very dark. Like those campaign posters of Oswald Cobblepot's mayoral run.
Yeah.
They look like, I couldn't find an exact match for match, and it was certainly not a Google search that I wanted to go too far down. But to me, it reminded me of like propaganda posters from like pre-World War II Germany. Of like,
I agree.
You know, because he's like got an umbrella, and it's like the rain, and then it's like, you know, let's return Gotham to, you know, its former glory type thing. And I was like, I can't. Oh, and this is the other.
Let's make Gotham great again.
Yes, and this is the other thing. So, okay, I don't know if you had this crazy sensation, but when when Oswald Cobblepot goes into his campaign war room that is like apparently downstairs from wherever he was. I don't know what the hell that was. He walked down a staircase and he was like, "Hey guys, the campaign kickoff party is here." I was like, what the hell is this tunnel? Where were they?
Right.
But so Max Schreck casually drops the term Reichstag fire. And so this was an act of arson against the German parliament. And then the Nazis claimed that the communists were planning violence, which basically gave them the right to abolish a bunch of constitutional protections and like paved the way for like Nazi dictatorship. And Max Schreck says the word the Constitution twice in this movie, where he's just like, at one point he says something to, I laughed at this like out loud. He was like, "Give the Constitution a rest, it's Christmas." He says that to like another character. I was just like, wait. So like it's tonally, it's extremely dark. And like, I feel like this Penguin is almost a bit more like, I don't see him in Arkham. He's more like like a cross between like a banker corporate villain and then, but with kind of that sexual depravity that they are dancing around like a lot in the movie. What did you think of that? Like, what did you think of like him just like leering at everybody and like that black stuff leaking out between his teeth when he's like reaching for Michelle Pfeiffer's boob or whatever? What did you think about that?
It was disgusting, and I like that she played it up one time. Like she was just like licking herself. He's like, he reminds me of someone I know. I was like, less, just a bit less. No, I think that the way that I've always seen Penguin to kind of step back a little bit is, because we get these different iterations of, he could be the gangster, enforcer, somehow connected with the mob or what have you, or the underworld in Gotham, as we kind of got in the Batman movie, which I think worked very well. He's kind of a joke, but if you get rid of all the people that knew stuff, then somehow you can move up because there's nobody left.
Right.
So I think that works. And I think this iteration is kind of, we cut past all of that, and this is almost, he took over the Joker's gang almost.
Because don't they show up? Like, because that was giving me serious, like, Batman Beyond vibes. Because, like, in the first big set piece at the tree lighting ceremony.
That's my favorite scene in the movie.
It's great. It's basically like there's like a circus theme and there are clowns, but no Joker. Aren't there clowns? Yeah.
I think what we're supposed to take from it, I don't know if they exactly did it, or maybe they referenced it, but he was in the circus. And this movie was supposed to have Robin in it, which you already can see it. You already see it happening.
Was it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and people got racist because this is where they wanted to have Marlon Wayans play Robin.
I have never heard this in my life.
Robin could never be black. Robin could never be black. Let's
really?
move on.
I never heard that. Huh.
Like, this movie had a very divisive sort of, we didn't like this. We didn't like Max Schreck. In one draft, Max Schreck was supposed to be his brother, the Penguin's brother. And going with that whole thing of, I was the bastard child or the forgotten child, and you got everything. And kind of explaining how Max has his money and all of that.
I think that would have worked. Yeah.
So I'm gonna go over the rest of the casting for Michelle Pfeiffer's role.
Yeah, let's do it. I want to hear it.
Oof. Other candidates in the running for the role were Lorraine Bracco, Cher. Cher's Catwoman would have been fire.
Yes.
Gina Davis, Bridget Fonda, Jodie Foster, Nicole Kidman. So in the game early, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Madonna, Demi Moore, Susan Sarandon, Brooke Shields, Lena Olin, Meryl Streep, Sigourney Weaver, Madeline Stowe, Raquel Welch, Jennifer Beals, Deborah Winger, Reba McEntire, and Melanie Griffith.
So basically everybody.
Every white chick.
Every working actress.
I think it could have worked. If you're going to go super sexy, it would have worked with Madonna. It would have worked with Cher. and then you start to kind of like go in different directions. I think it could have worked with Sigourney Weaver, and I'm thinking of that iteration of Catwoman when she's kind of got like the purple suit and the hair is coming out of the back. I just need like Big Floof in the back.
Big Floof.
Yeah. Like, that's not going to be a name of mine.
And no
Big
black
Floof.
women, except for Jennifer Beals is biracial.
Yeah, no black women. We don't do the blacks.
Interesting.
Yeah. You know, there is an arc, as you put it. You know, Whitney Houston just goes on stuff taking his role.
Well, yeah. I mean, like in the days of like when Phil Collins is considered for a role, because this was when it was like Sting and everybody is like, I'm going to act too. And, you know, their studios were like, I guess so. Listen, you owe us 3 more albums and don't think that Christmas album counted as one of them. You know, like, so, you know, like those are the kind of people that were like making movies. So I get that, but I'm like, yeah.
And I think it's you're right. I think it's a good point because we had Billy D. Williams in the first one as freaking Harvey Dent, so you can't do the race game now. You racist white people from 1992.
Exactly. Like, you just feel like they could have found one person to be like, here's the token black person of this list. We weren't actually considering you, but we're going to pretend
Angela
we
Bassett.
were. Well, yeah. Hey, I mean, you know,
that's who it would have been.
probably.
1992 is like, if you're done getting beat up by
Wow. I can't wait for this.
What's love got to do with it? It was love got to do with it because that would have been filming. If you're done getting beat up by Lawrence Fishburne, how about you do this?
Oh my God, you did not say that.
Okay, you know what? Here's the universe I want it to be.
Okay.
Because he already has a connection. Mm-hmm. He likes to do favors.
Okay.
Vanity as Catwoman.
I mean, again, I'm surprised that wasn't tossed out there. Even for
Prince on a new soundtrack.
Even for somebody to be like, absolutely not. Like, I'm just surprised that somebody like that wasn't on the list.
Downtown Julie Brown as Catwoman.
I mean, why not?
There were no black actresses getting any work in the early 90s. That just, unfortunately, wasn't a thing.
It wasn't.
And it's crap because... So what you're saying is Kim Wayans as Catwoman.
Shut up. Oh my God.
Both two Wayans, Batman Returns.
Her crazy energy would have turned that into a major comedy.
Look. Let's see. According to Tim Burton, not Tim Robbins. According to Tim Burton, Michael Keaton was already set to do Batman Forever, but he decided to later turn down the role because he disliked Joel Schumacher's ideas. And was like, yeah, I'm not going to be in this. I think I'm all set.
He might have made the right move.
Yes, because you're throwing around a cod piece. But would that have been a better movie, though, if Keaton was in it versus Val Kilmer?
I don't have a problem with Val Kilmer's Batman. And I don't dislike that movie either. I think that, honestly, the worst part of that movie is a lot of the terrible dialogue that they give Nicole Kidman. And obviously she didn't write her own dialogue and she does the best that she can with it. But like that sort of breathy thing that they wanted, but then she's like a psychiatrist. I was just like, I don't understand what is happening here.
What was her name in it?
Chase Meridian.
That's a terrible name.
It is
some horrid,
ghastly.
What? Yeah.
It is so ghastly.
I think the problem with those two Schumacher movies versus the two Tim Burton movies, like visually, it look like vastly different universes. It's just like, all right. Because, I mean, they're presented from a marketing standpoint as sequels to each other. Mm-hmm. But if, in theory, they're all just standalone movies, because theoretically, after you leave Burton Land, who said his movies are not sequels, well, the second one's not a sequel to the first one, then you're just kind of one-offs with different Batmans after that. You go to George Clooney from Val Kilmer, and they look nothing alike.
It's true. The visual language just isn't there. And that's definitely something that just because of the kind of director that Tim Burton is, you're definitely going to have that, you know?
Yeah. And it's interesting because the same kind of, I guess, criticisms that maybe he was getting there, not the same, but the same sort of criticisms that, we look back on. It's like, this movie's too dark visually, right? And too dark stylistically and tonally. It's the same stuff that kind of like Zack Snyder's getting. Your stuff, it's stylized, but it's too dark. The color doesn't work. And it's like, well, some of this stuff is dark. I don't need a bunch of color from Batman. Like the Batman was like in this sort of sepia tone, and that worked.
It did work. Yeah. I'm thinking about your Catwoman list now, and the reason why none of them do it for me, none of the other choices do it for me. Mm-hmm. And I like Michelle Pfeiffer. I liked her portrayal. I think because it doesn't work for me, any of the other actresses on that list, because the Catwoman that she created, that Michelle Pfeiffer created, to me is a predecessor of the current Harley Quinn.
Yep.
Like athletic, quippy, done wrong by every man she knows, and
not against telling you about it too, because there is this sort of feminist take with Catwoman in the movie, I think.
Yeah, and I can't see any of those people as Harley Quinn, but I see a younger, and I'm not trying to be ageist about it, but like I see a younger Michelle Pfeiffer. She could have had 2 ponytails that were blue at the bottom, and have done that at some point if that's what she wanted to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's the 2 cameo notes real quick. We already touched on Paul Rubens, but Diane Salinger was also with him in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. So they reunited to play Penguin's parents at the beginning of the movie.
That's
and they
great.
Worked together previously in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, 1985.
When they share a martini before they go murder their son. It's pretty great.
After he murders a cat, by the way.
He does murder the cat. Also, where is that custom cage crib? I mean, I feel like it's somewhere in Burton. There should be Burton World. I know that he had a big exhibit that I missed of his art.
Burton World.
There should be.
It's just Halloween Town or wherever the hell, like the fat girls that have tattoos of him live for the nightmare.
I didn't say that, listeners. I did not say that.
I'm a fat guy. So this relates to the podcast, but I don't think you're going to get the reference, but the people who listen to the podcast will get the reference. So Chip Shrek, because I don't think you listened to this episode, who Chip Shrek, who's his Max's son, right? He big dude, what have you. He plays Zangief in the Street Fighter movie.
He looks
2 years later.
He looks like somebody who does something like that. His teeth are weird because it looks like he got capped too many. They got capped too many times. He got the Denzel Washington plan of like, don't cap my teeth once, but do it twice. So he looks like he's a professional wrestler or like something like that.
And I believe he's played Leatherface twice.
Oh, really?
He's an enormous, these terrible sequel, reboot, whatevers. All right, here's some spoilers real quick. You're going to love this first one, I think.
Okay.
So the final shot of the film, can you describe the final shot of the film for us, please?
In the final shot of the film, after one of my favorite moments, which is when Bruce Wayne picks up her cat and takes the cat home with him, they get in the car and drive away. The bat signal is shown, and then you see Catwoman from the back stand up and look at it.
Thank you. So the shot had to be filmed on a weekend less than a day after conception. So before the movie's supposed to come out. And with a double for Michelle Pfeiffer, right? This single shot cost $250,000.
What was the problem? Why did they not shoot this before?
I don't think it was going to be in it. I think they were like, my understanding is there was a possibility of doing a Catwoman sequel or a Catwoman spinoff.
That's what everybody thought was going to. I can tell you right now, that's what everybody thought was going to happen in the movie theater. People are like, "Yeah, Catwoman."
It's just hissing the Danny Elfman theme. Shit.
It's amazing. Oh my god.
The Christmas, the final Christmas ball scene is quite symbolic. Since it's a masquerade, all the guests are in disguise. The only two that weren't wearing masks are Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle,
Right.
which implies their real personalities of Batman and Catwoman, respectively.
Exactly.
Yeah. And at the end of the opening, you'll love this. This, again, has to do with your thing. At the end of the opening credits, Oswald's crib lands on a ramp and a pool in the zoo's penguin exhibit. When Oswald dies, the penguins perform a funeral march by dropping him in the water via the same ramp. It's just like the story's epilogue. So storytelling right there.
I mean, I didn't know what to think at that moment as like penguins gave him a Viking funeral. He went there. He went there.
So here's the fun part. Mm-hmm. Now we're past all of the trivia and all of that. I got some observations, what works, what doesn't work, favorite scenes, and then MVP of the movie, and then we can hit the bat signal or what have you. So I want to start off with some observations and questions, right?
Okay.
So now revisiting what we were kind of touching on a little bit earlier, of the 1990s Batman movies, so there are 4 of them, I believe. Where does this rank for you? No, there are 3 of them. 89 is an 80s movie. So out of the 3, where this did, and this doesn't count any of the animated ones because technically Mask of the Phantasm and all of that stuff, while great, I really want to stick with the cinematic ones. Where does this rank for you of those 3? So Batman Returns, Batman and Robin, and Batman Forever.
This is the best one. And this, because I have watched all the Batman movies multiple times, and this is one of the ones that continues to get better and more interesting, and I see more and get more out of them over time.
I agree with this. This one is head and shoulders above the latter 2. The Batman Forever was marketed a lot to me. It had a lot of good marketing tie-ins. I remember very well. I remember we had the Riddler glass from McDonald's. It was like a mug with the Riddler with the question mark as the handle, which was really fire.
Ooh, I wish I had that.
And Jim Carrey was at the peak of his powers, I think, or around the peak of his powers at that time. And so, you had a black character with Vivica A. Fox in it, because shout out to that previous point we were making.
Correct.
But I think this movie is kind of the 90s sort of, and kind of this thing I touched on earlier. This is the entry point to getting the Batman, the animated series, which is the best, bar none, iteration of Batman through the 90s. And that's where you bring the movies back in the animated films. If you connect all of that stuff, Batman Returns is the precursor before you get any of that stuff, just when it comes out chronologically.
That's true. And the Batman that you see and hear in Batman the Animated Series is most like Michael Keaton's Batman.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Speaking of Michael Keaton's Batman, how floofy was Keaton's floof in this movie?
So I need to set this up a little bit for our wonderful listeners who may not be acquainted with the floof.
You're gonna get it though.
So in the first Batman movie in 1989, you have Michael Keaton's hair, and in one scene looks like it is facing off with Robert Wuhl's hair. At that time, a lot of white guys in movies that didn't have kind of like, straightish, Kyle MacLachlan hair, if there was any texture to it, whether because it just naturally had it or because it had a perm, they would make this kind of like pompadour in the front. And we were watching the movie and the two of them are facing each other talking. Robert was like, wait, it's like they're having a foof off. It's like they're foof. Stop it. He's putting his hat on the front of his head. There's like a swirl and they're kind of like facing off. So that's where the foof off or floof off originates, is from that movie. And yes, his hair is looking so floofed. And I mean, in this, and it looks like he has a lot of makeup on too, which he doesn't need. I don't understand it. I don't get it.
In that first scene, when he's summoned to
He's
the
wearing
Dark
eyeliner.
Carnival fight. He's wearing eyeliner.
He's wearing eyeliner.
He's wearing a Pharaoh eyeliner, who pops up in a Batman movie again. That's the reference. But his floof is a little thin, but it's floofy.
Yes.
When he turns, it's like when he has his turtleneck on or what have you. I was like, oh shit, you about to beat up some people with mental illnesses. This is gonna be wild, son.
Basically.
Here's another question I got for you. Is this poster the best Batman poster of like Batman cinematic? Where does this rank? Like, is this the best one? Is the straight like logo fire? Is it the Nolan stuff of the Batman movies that we've seen on a big screen? Is this the best poster for a Batman movie?
Man, that's a good question. That's tough.
It's a really good poster.
It might be the best poster because I'm not counting. I don't feel like it's fair to, because I know they have different posters and lobby cards and all these different other marketing print configurations, but I don't want to count some of the really, really clever and fun marketing that they did for The Dark Knight, because they weren't necessarily movie posters, with the like cartoon crayon, why so serious, and like that kind of stuff.
That's actually really good. Yeah.
Yeah, but in terms of being like the old school look of like, here are the villains, or when it's just like, friggin' DeVito, Pfeiffer, like.
Floof.
But I will say, my favorite is just the straight seal, like the yellow gold, like that's my favorite.
That's iconic.
Yeah,
that's iconic.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
This is my favorite because I like how they're stacked. And the other thing that I think that makes it work, as far as how they're depicted in the movie, I think is very present in this in the poster. They all look, with the exception of Keaton, he's the only person that has color. The two of them look like they're zombies. Because their faces are white. Like, Catwoman is like white. She's pale, and the Penguin is white with black shit coming out of his mouth. So, I think it kind of gets over that sort of tone of, and weird to think that Catwoman has died, by the way, because she gets thrown out a fucking window. But bye, bitch, get out of here. Make my coffee. Fuck Shrek.
I feel okay. You have
some shit to say.
You have to talk about him now because I feel like you've been wanting to talk about him. So you have to talk about him now.
I want to throw out this one last thing, and then we got themes, and I think that's where we could talk about him.
Okay.
Would this movie have worked better? And I remember I mentioned it earlier about adding Robin in it. Would this movie have worked better adding him in it with all of the circus stuff that happens than how they made him work in Batman Forever? Because the circus thing is already there versus Batman Forever, we kind of like have to find the circus situation.
No, yeah, I think you're onto something. I feel like it would have fit in more naturally. I also think that a lot of people would have expected that the second Batman movie would have Robin in it.
It's Sonic when you get Tails in the second Sonic movie. I know I just compared Batman to Sonic.
You did.
You
did. But
we're talking animals.
Yeah, we're talking animals. It's fine. It would have fit in better here.
Yeah, I think so. And, because, it's at a point where and I think this is kind of why the latter two movies don't work as well, because it's like you're introducing a new character. Like you get Batgirl in the fourth movie, and it's like, oh shit, Alicia Silverstone wasn't that, wasn't she? Shit.
Oh boy.
Uma Thurman. So okay, themes. What themes pop up in this movie? So I think that's a really good starting point to talk about. You mentioned wealth earlier, and this sort of gross depiction of it, and the polar opposites. Like the Waynes are this, and that's how they're depicted in this sort of philanthropy sort of thing, and where the Cobblepots are just like rich assholes, kind of like, our child is ugly, get him out of here.
Our child is ugly.
Send him to the gallows, and bring me another martini. And you have the sexist shit that's in there. You have and this is why Max Schreck being a Cobblepot would have worked a lot better, because the mayor hates this nigga. when he's being shitty in the boardroom to noted corn dog Selena Kyle.
Yes.
And he's like, I fucking hate this nigga. That was literally the energy, but they're all being good old boys and sexist as fucking there.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, she does. She's. What did he say? She's not house trained or some shit. I was like, fuck this nigga.
It's ghastly. It's so ghastly.
He sucks. His hair is terrible. He was made for the movie, so he like you touched on earlier. He is a Tim Burton creation. He's not a character. Now, what if they retconned it in the comics like Shrek Origins, and it's just like him like with a goatee or something? They get Christopher Walken on board. And just like we can use your likeness.
I love when you do anything Origins, because
Shrek Legacy.
Well, definitely, Max Shrek figures into the theme of the powerful versus the powerless, which really isn't a versus. I mean, who always wins? But, this movie tries to subvert that at least a little bit, because both of the villains were literally thrown away by someone more powerful than them. Oswald by his own parents, rich and powerful people, and Selena Kyle gets thrown out of a window by her rich and powerful boss. So this kind of like, we can just dispose of people that we don't need.
Get rid of the lessers. Good day.
And the idea that politicians can just be made like Frankenstein, kind of like, well, I need another pocket of power here. And so I'm just going to install this puppet, and Oswald Cobblepot will be mayor. He'll owe me a bunch of favors. And, it's a pretty open admission that, politics, especially in a city like Gotham, that they're not about people at all, but kind of these like an orchestrated theater that's, driven by these very powerful corporations in the background.
And wasn't that like, I think they didn't really go into it super heavy, but I thought that was one of Joker's motivations too. Like, I want to run Gotham, like almost like when he popped up on television or what have you. And I just felt like that was kind of a similar thing. Like, I want to run Gotham. Like, whatever these elected officials, fuck them, they can leave. I want to run Gotham, however it needs to run.
Yes.
And yeah. And yeah, you're right. It's very overt. The best thing that Max Shrek did was get electrocuted. I'm just going to say that.
I mean,
because fuck them.
And then we have like another like crazy looking electrocution like we have in the first movie when the Joker electrocutes that guy with his friggin' hand buzzer.
that is a Tim Burton note. He's like, look, someone's got to be electrocuted in this. This is why I'm not signing up for Batman Forever. No one's being electrocuted. I'm out. Bye.
And you can't have Batman without duality. You can't have Batman without duality and like mirror images. Like Oswald leaves the two roses by his parents' grave, just like Bruce Wayne does in every movie. Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle talk. I liked how you brought up that they weren't wearing their masks. Because they were wearing their masks, these other personas at the masquerade ball. And then I forget who asks him if it's Alfred that asks Bruce Wayne, but one of them says, was Vicky right about your difficulty with duality? And then
it was, yeah.
And then I think like he says something about like Ted Bundy and Norman Bates or something. And it's like, are those your points of comparison with Bruce Wayne? The idea of like the monster with like a human face, and then I think the last thing that comes to mind and thinking about, well, obviously, like Catwoman's, her competing identities. I think at one point, Max Shrek says something like, I'm the light of this city and I am its mean, twisted soul. It's like, how can you be both of those things? Those, I don't think those two things are going to work together.
I love the callback too when he goes on stage initially and he's like maybe like Gotham Santa Claus and she's like, give me a kiss, Santa Claus, before she electrocutes his ass.
Yes. Right.
It's like, fuck him, get him out of here. throw him in a river with the other ones. Shit. Yeah. So Yeah, I think those are the main themes that are in the movie. Yeah, because this thing with even the carnival or what have you, like, you know, that is a really big, good set piece. And one of Michael Keaton's favorite scenes happens in that fight. I think when he gives the bomb to the guy, the big muscle bound guy. That is his favorite scene that he's shot in the Batman movies.
Is it?
Yes.
That's so funny.
Because he blows up a motherfucker.
He's like, it's about time I get to do something like that.
When the Batmobile gets on that long contrived fucking like lift and turns around and torches the flamethrower guy, I was like,
okay,
a little bit of a delay there. Like, we can do this a little bit more expeditiously. Thanks. This Wayne tech is a little slow.
Can you please take us through the part where Bruce Wayne reveals Oswald Cobblepot's true feelings about the city
no.
when he plays?
That's for you. That is for you. So, so politicians, right? Oswald Cobblepot goes a little left. This is after. Is this before or after we see him bite a nigga's nose off? Because that is traumatizing, by the way.
That is one of his earliest things that happens when he comes from below ground. And they basically just give that guy a Band-Aid and go on with their day.
Like, fuck off. Here's something for your nose. So what does he do again? And how does he get revealed, like, his true feelings about Gotham?
Okay, so at some point, who knows when he's being recorded by a bad device or whatever, but he says, you know, I played this stinking city like a harp from hell. Somehow Bruce Wayne has this recording and blasts it over, I don't know, Skynet. And it's on a CD-ROM. Okay,
it's on a laser disc.
That's where good one. It's on a laser disc. He literally puts it into what can only be described as a Discman, and he starts playing it. And of course, everyone's like, "Oh my god, what is this audio we're hearing?" And then he proceeds to scratch the CD. So it's like, I played the stinking city. I was like, I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to kill myself. To get the Fruity Pebbles, I had to trick Fred. I was like,
oh my God.
I will kill everybody. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah. Ping. New penguin on the track. Like, shit.
But that's when people start booing him and pelting him.
Fucking fruit at him like, kid.
Start throwing fruit
Here's
at him.
bananas, dickhead.
There's one more theme / parallel thing that I did think of is that, so Max Schreck has this idea like, yeah, we're going to make this guy mayor. He's going to be in my pocket. So there's that idea of like the monster that you think you can control. Mm-hmm. And you know what happens when they kind of like get off the leash, and it was, you know, it was an illusion that you ever had control over them in the first place. And it reminds me of The Dark Knight, when you have that voiceover where Michael Caine's Alfred is like, you know, they took up with a man that they didn't understand.
Yeah.
And it was just like, yeah, you know, the Joker, he's crazy. Yeah, we're going to do these big deals across the city. And then he burns all their money and kills all of them.
True.
So, yeah, it reminded me of that.
I think there is a scene as a callback to The Elephant Man, when the penguin is just like, I'm not a man, blah, 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 an animal.
Yes, I'm not an animal. Then he takes out his flippers and you're like,
it's your hands, sir. Catwoman, that's the reason why she was like, I can't really get with this. She was like, I was going to give you a chance, but those hands, sir, they're a bit much.
So what did you think about... I mean, we know. Oh God, I mean, that looked like a real piece of salmon to me. He laid it on the printer for the meeting when they started having the campaign meeting. He literally did. He's like, okay, we're just going to put this down for a minute, and then there's just like salmon coming out of his teeth.
It's so gross.
It's not great. What did you think about? Well, what did you think of Catwoman? What did you think of Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman? And what did you think about what this movie has to say about that character in comparison with other ways that you've seen her portrayed?
I think that upon rewatching, I think at one point it felt it was a little on the nose with some of the, and it made sense, if you really look back at what Selena Kyle dealt with in that sort of world of like kind of being, trivialized and being shitted on and abused as a woman in, Gotham during that time or what have you. And being that Catwoman is kind of that flip. I really don't like the extremes too much, but I think it made sense for it. I didn't have a lot of attachment to Catwoman in terms of like, I didn't have Eartha Kitt. They could have had her in Batman as Catwoman in the movie. I didn't have, Julie Newmar, Eartha Kitt. Like literally, she's my first iteration of Catwoman, and she's now second. But she was for a very long time. That was Catwoman for me. For me in the movie depictions of Catwoman, it's going to go Zoe Kravitz now. And then it's Michelle Pfeiffer, and then it's Anne Hathaway, who does not get called Catwoman. She just gets called Selena Kyle. So I like the way they did. I think she steals a lot of the movie, which is great. She has some of the funniest bits.
She does.
And just one of the great scenes. A lot of people didn't like the scene, but when she backflips out of the place before it blows up, and it says like meow, I was like, that's fire. That's great.
That's the Harley Quinn part. That's that scene specifically definitely makes me think about like that's some, because it's just chaos, and then being like, yay.
And she plays the thing on the roof too, where even Batman's kind of faux misogyny or what have you. It's like, I can't believe you would do that. I'm a woman. And she was like, I was going to finish saying that I should not be underestimated. I was like, ah. I was like, yeah, fuck him. You go, sis.
And then like when she's like groping him in the cave, she's like, is that you? And you're just like, okay.
She licked his entire face at one point.
She did. And he stood there.
He's like, ugh. And the Saved by Kitty Litter thing is great.
It's great. I agree.
However, there's one piece of dialogue. This brings us into what works and what doesn't work. There's one piece of dialogue from her that just does not work.
Oh boy.
It's very corny.
Okay. Life's
a bitch and so am I. I was like, it's like it's a little not enough sugar in that Kool-Aid there, cats.
Yeah, it wasn't. It
wasn't the best.
It wasn't the best. Didn't land.
It was a little too on the nose, and it's like, we get it. I am woman, hear me roar. Or when she cuts up the dude's face and does tic-tac-toe on him in a fucking alley, I was like, this is great. Fuck this guy. She plays Connect 4 in this nigga's face and then ships him off.
She does.
And then tells the other chick stop being weak and shit too. I was like, damn.
Yeah, her dispatching of the villains is a lot of fun. It's really fun.
Also, I forgot one Catwoman depiction that's been on the big screen. This is what set us back. Halle Berry's Catwoman set us back.
I've never seen it.
They try to do all of the things that she does in it. They fail miserably, but they try to replicate this sort of empowerment angle, and it falls flat. She's playing basketball with Benjamin Bratt at one point.
So, did you see that movie?
I saw it on my birthday. I had a couple bad birthdays back to back.
That's not what anyone should see on their birthday.
I saw that, and I think Electra back to back for birthdays. So there you go.
Boy, we have a lot to make up for.
Here's another thing that doesn't work. Max Schreck is just Frank White from King of New York.
Yes.
I'm almost waiting for him to say, if there's a nickel bag sold in East Gotham, I want in. I'm waiting for him to say that.
Yeah, you're right. He is. That's pretty much what's happening here. Yes, correct.
So I'm pissed off waiting for like Lawrence Fishburne to pop up in an Averex jacket and say, look, I shot up West Harlem. We taking over. The Dominicans are gone.
I mean, there's plenty of room for him there. There's plenty of room for him to be in a Batman movie.
Oh my God. And he's been in a Superman movie though.
Right.
Actually a couple, I think. This is what I think works about the movie though. Danny Elfman's theme. Always.
Yes.
Most of the casting, and you know who my exception is. You wanted me to talk about Shrek? I got some Shrek.
You're right. Yes.
The directing works. I think that the tone, all the stuff that is definitely Tim Burton's fingerprints, his black
His black fairy tale heart. Yeah.
His black penguin juice fingertips. It works. The set works because of the sheer size of it and the scope of it.
It's incredible. Yeah. Some of the physical objects, are wow.
The marketing works, and by marketing, I extend past even the poster, the tie-ins, because I think that it being so close to when Batman the Animated Series comes out, and we know how long it takes to do animation, especially then, that they had to have had a conversation. The people that are making, like the Paul Dini's of the world and the gang over there at Warner Brothers, they had to have had a conversation.
I think so yeah.
I think all of that is tied. The video game coming out and being really good. I think all of that just works. And I think the only kind of shortcoming is they didn't have, at least I don't recall, like a big song, like, a soundtrack or what have you. Like the Batman '89 has the best soundtrack of any of the Batman movies that have existed.
True.
And then the biggest song in Batman is probably now. We're talking soundtrack. We're not talking score because the Batman score slaps.
Oh, the Batman. Yeah.
Yes,
the score
that
is
slaps.
Incredible.
But "Kiss from a Rose" is a huge song.
It was.
What is it? What's that? What's the U2 song? "Kiss Me, Kill Me, Throw Me," which is also in that soundtrack. It's pretty fire, and I think it has an animated video.
I forgot about that song.
Those are kind of good things or what have you, but we didn't get like that kind of song for Batman Returns. So that's the one kind of marketing shortcoming that I'm thinking of. I'm sure they had like some Beastie Boys song I didn't care about. Yeah, it's the Batman, yo. It's the Batman. What? It's the Batman. Def Jam. I don't know. I feel like the Jordan thing was a missed opportunity, though. I think they should have definitely leaned into that one. So let's see. Favorite scenes. 2 favorite scenes that come to mind for you.
2 favorite scenes. I really enjoy Michelle Pfeiffer's, I don't know what to call it. It's right after her transformation scene. She comes home and kind of trashes her apartment. But I like the way she does it. There's something about, I don't know that I've seen her do something like that before. Like,
is it better than the scene we got from the Whitney Houston movie yesterday?
Oh my goodness.
Smash.
That was crazy. But she was really unhinged. Like, I think she does something like she comes in and she acts like she's going to hang her coat up, but she just lets it drop to the floor.
Oh, yeah.
And then she's like doing graffiti and like just, it's very Joker. But I really like it. And it's not something that you get a chance to see, necessarily like a female comic book character, or villain, whatever, do that often. So I really like that scene.
Is that right before she starts stitching our costume?
Yes.
And she was like, it's so much yummier now?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a good scene.
She's just, really, because we saw her do the parallel of that scene before, of what she usually does when she comes home. She listens to the answering machine message tape from her mom and, this kind of routine. So I really enjoyed that scene. And then I really like some of the darker, crazier Penguin moments.
I'd much rather not be disturbed now.
Come on downstairs, Oswald. I was surprised.
I don't like surprises.
I just enjoyed his performance. It was really like risky and kind of gross. And I liked him digging into that villainry in that specific way. Like, he would say something and people would be like, wait, did he just say that?
It was very inappropriate at times.
Yeah,
by the way.
super, super inappropriate. And he's supposed to be focusing on becoming the mayor, and he's just like, yeah, how about that ass though?
Some of that booty.
Yeah, because he's been underground. He's been underground a long time.
So he is eating that real fish, by the way.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
He's in character.
Yeah,
it is so gross.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. So, and I mean, I love the winter. I mean, even though it's like, you know, a rough thing that's happening, when his parents, you know, Moses him, Superman him, and just were like, here you go, and just dump over the baby carriage. Like the whole way that the whole winter shot, and, you know, it's really dark, and it's like, you know, the night is dark and full of terrors type vibe. Like visually, I really, really like that.
I mean, I want my eyes to look like the penguin's eyes in this movie. It's just dead around them, but then it's like a certain degree of menacing. And his coat's pretty fly, actually. That the coat with the top hat, it's got a lot of texture to it. It looks like he's wearing feathers that's in his overcoat, and he's got an ascot on.
Yes.
And he saves a baby. I'm looking at this scene right now when he's holding up this baby.
The costume department had a great time.
Yeah, they crushed it. They crushed it. I got two scenes that really come to mind for me.
Oh God.
One is the Dark Circus scene. I think that's really great. Just the sort of intro, like, set piece. And secondly, it would be just, you know, ultimately Max Shreck's demise. I think in it's, you know, Batman is fine in it, but as we touched on earlier, it's not really his movie. It's about kind of like, if you just say, look, Batman's going to show up in the third act, and we're not going to see him the whole time. We're just going to have like Catwoman and, you know, Fish Face, like fucking, you know, playing grab ass or what have you until the third act. It would be fine.
As I was saying, I'm a woman and can't be taken for granted. Life's a bitch. Now so am I.
Fish face.
I mean, just, you know, this nigga. So, okay, movie MVP, and this is where we'll wrap up at. So who is your MVP of this movie? It could be character, it could be actor, it could be filmmaker. Who is your MVP for Batman Returns?
I think Tim Burton is the MVP of this movie.
I think the case is strong. I think the case is very strong. I'm going to agree with that. I think it's him because this is his final Batman movie, and it's better than the first one, and it's kind of like it's better because it's more his vision. I think that's what I'm taking from it. I guess final thoughts on Batman Returns. Do you have any final thoughts for this flick?
I think that Batman Returns is it's a huge accomplishment when you think about it in Tim Burton's catalog. Like, if people think of Tim Burton movies, especially the high points being Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands, you know, those were original creations as far as I know. And it takes a pretty strong director and someone with vision and point of view to take a character as well known as Batman and turn that world into their own world. I think that is really, really difficult to do. And so I think this movie deserves a lot of credit for being able to blend those things. He didn't, you know, it wasn't completely like, you know, I mean, yes, it was very Tim Burton, but there were certain Batman things that have to be there that he didn't discard. But I think it's a blueprint of how you can blend a singular director's vision with a property that people expect certain things from and want to see.
I think that's well said. I think you're right. I think it's definitely up there. It's still in a very unique way because of how it was made, and going back to one of the things you said earlier, this movie still kind of holds up and you get something new out of it like each time, despite it being, you know, 3 decades old now. So that is a testament to the filmmaking, the acting, everything that went into this flick. And yeah, glad we were able to do this and talk about this for a bit.
Me too. You know, especially because it's like Christmas time, winter time. Yeah.
So with that, I think we're good. I think we're done here. So thank you again for coming on, Koo, and chopping it up with me.
I had fun. I enjoyed it like I always do. I love being a guest, and I look forward to our next one.
Yeah. So thank you so much. And for the folks listening out there, this has been Koo, Rob Lee. This has been Let's Watch It Again, our review of Batman Returns. Its 30th anniversary. And until next time, keep watching those movies.